Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, writer Greg Cope White talks about joining the Marine Corps as a gay man.
I'd never planned. I never played Army. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what the Marines were like. Had I known, I would have probably not ever signed up, but I'd never seen a video. I was raised by my mom, was single at the time, so I really didn't see those images. I didn't have a guy to look up to that told me. We didn't play Army together. And the whole idea of Vietnam just being over, the military was a hard sell.
Today on the show, author Greg Cope White, who wrote The Pink Marine, talks about his time in the United States Marine Corps as a gay man. Stay close.
This is Greg Cope White, author of The Pink Marine. You're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show of over 12 years or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with Hollywood manager Barry Katz. Barry talks about losing his first wife, which is, of course, very sad, but then also working with some of the top comedians in the industry. And he tells us about his conversation with Magic Johnson and how to over-deliver. So if you want to make it in Hollywood, go back, listen to Barry Katz talking about not only his wife, but over-delivering and how to make it in Hollywood. But not today, you guys. Stay with me today, because today I've got Greg Cope White on the show, and he told this fabulous story. It was a couple of years ago now, but I'm bringing it back because it is certainly still story-worthy, and I know you guys are going to love it. But before we get over to Greg's story, I wanted to remind you guys to check out my new podcast, My Life in 3 Songs. It's exclusively on Spotify because I talk to comedians about the songs that impacted their life. So we talk about the song and then we also listen to the song. And Spotify has that music licensing that I need. So again, check out mylifein3songs.com and also on social media at mylifein3songs. All right, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for the very talented Greg Cope White.
Shout out to all the Marines down in Camp Pendleton. You guys, I went to boot camp in Parris Island. Like you said, there's 2. If you live on the west of the Mississippi, you go to Camp Pendleton. If you lived on the east, you go to Parris Island. And I joined in New Orleans on the other side of the river, the east side. So I got to go to Parris Island. You never know which one's worse. In Parris Island, they have sand fleas. That's bad enough. And then in San Diego, they have something called Mount Motherfucker, which you have to climb a lot. And so during the training, a lot of boys bitch about that. And women now bitch about that. So, but I wanted to say that you guys, I know that you said that you mentioned not wanting to go in because you didn't ever think of yourself, Hannes, as a military guy. And first off, me too. I didn't ever think of myself. That's what's so surprising about my story. And one of the reasons that I wrote the book in such a funny voice is because, well, I'm a comedy writer, but also because I'd never planned. I never played Army. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what the Marines were like. Had I known, I would have probably not ever signed up, but I'd never seen a video. I was raised by my mom, was single at the time. And so when I was a kid doing that sort of thing. So I really didn't see those images. I didn't have a guy to look up to that told me. We didn't play Army together. And the whole idea of Vietnam just being over, the military was a hard sell. We were still an all volunteer Army. But when I was recruited, I sort of thought I was doing them a favor. So the book kicks off with the fact that I didn't pass the physical and didn't get in. I did lie on the enlistment contract about my homosexuality because it was just illegal. So I thought that was the big hurdle. But then to fail the physical and have to go through this crazy ordeal to pass the physical again. I cheated to pass the physical, by the way. It involved food. And I was really, really fighting and thinking, how hard is it to get in this place? You guys need people. A war just ended. But it was so strange to me. So I'm going to read a little section. I just didn't know what I was getting into. So this is when I first got there. I heard buzzing. We inched up a bit, and I risked a glance out and to the left as I stepped up. Immediately, I felt a Marine rushing towards me. So I popped my head back into place before I had the chance for anybody to figure out what was happening. The line moved around a corner, and one boy emerged from a room ahead. He had no hair. This was it, the legendary head shaving. and about to happen to me. In that video Sergeant Evans had played for me just after I signed my enlistment contract, I watched large groups of young men marching in unison. The camera zoomed down a line of boys outside a barbershop, then out to one kid sitting in a barber's chair, smiling into the camera. The barber grabbed the boy's head and roughly tilted it forward. He ran electric clippers over the boy's scalp, leaving nothing but the boy's sheepish grin. Within seconds, the brutal shearing was over and the boy sprang out of the chair, rubbing his bald head. Another boy hopped into the barber chair. To my relief, we moved on to another scene where the boys were now in camouflage uniforms, carrying rifles, and running through the woods up and over nets made of rope. I'd looked around to see if Sergeant Evans was nearby. I wanted to talk to him about what I was watching. I had a sinking feeling that this film was showing me what being in the Marine Corps was like. My success in convincing Sergeant Evans that I wasn't gay had felt like a victory. Meeting him, seeing the Marines on the posters, it all made me want to be one of those guys. To be one of those guys, however, I'd have to do what I saw in the video. At that moment, I'd started to realize that boot camp was going to be hard work, but I was still a ways from recognizing that I would technically be working harder than anyone else in my platoon. I'd have to do everything they did, but also mask my secret. Now the moment I'd seen in the video had arrived for me. I was not ready. The long hippie styles that had shocked conservatives in the 1960s had grown out comfortably by the 70s. Teen idols such as David Cassidy, Starsky, and Hutch had become my role models. I rocked huge feathered wings of hair that folded over my tiny egg head like the protective wings of a mother bird. This is how much I loved my hair. I actually believed that the repeat portion of lather, rinse, repeat was for the benefit of my hair, rather than the shampoo company's bottom line. My hair was already fantastic. I coaxed and cajoled it to new heights and widths with liberal application of the product. My hair was my exercise program. By the time I finished blow-drying my hair in the morning, I was exhausted. Both me and my hair needed time to settle down. I wanted to run my hands through it to say goodbye, but I dared not move. I got close enough to the door to see these three frumpy middle-aged civilian men presiding over their barber chairs. When they weren't shouting out for the next boy in line, they were discussing sports scores with each other like they were at a cookout. One of the barbers looked a little shaky, which didn't ease my anxiety. I'd probably get him. I returned to staring at the back of my best friend Dale's head as commanded. Although Dale's mother was Japanese, his father was Mississippi white. Spin Dale around and you'd be hard-pressed to pinpoint his heritage. He looked more Mexican, his Asian features blending into the multinational dimpled good looks of a United Nations staffer. But from behind, he could be the Japanese Elvis, with his pitch-black hair. Very shortly, you would not be able to mistake him for such a person. When I was living in New Orleans for 1 year in high school, I loved hanging out with Dale's family. They blended me into their activities. One night, I was maybe 15, and Dale's sister's boyfriend, Jerry, asked me if we wanted to go for a ride to catch a Mardi Gras parade. Thrilled to hang with an older teen, we jumped at the chance. It was an opportunity to show off our new home permanents, courtesy of Dale's mother. Yep, just a couple of white boys sitting in the den with towels around our shoulders while a nice lady took a long time reading the not in her native language instructions on the back of a Clairol box. The fumes obliterated any sense of caution over the idea of getting a perm in the first place. That evening, once our just plain wrong curls were dry, Jerry drove us around New Orleans, chasing the tail end of a parade. We got stuck in traffic. Jerry spotted some guys that he'd beaten in a fight the week before. Soon the toughs, appearing as Mardi Gras revelers to others, were taunting us to step out of the car and fight. The gang leader ordered one guy to bash in a headlight while another broke the car's antenna. I heard tapping on my window. I looked over, and my eyes met the barrel of the boss's gun. He twirled the business end of the pistol, indicating that I should roll the window down. I froze like I was trying to fool a bear into thinking I was dead. I finally managed to point at my head, hoping he'd understand the universal sign for mercy. Please, I just had a perm. Luckily, in a few seconds, enough space opened up for Jerry to drive onto the sidewalk and away to safety. My fond hair-related reveries were shattered when one of the barbers shouted, "Cover any moles on your head with your fingers and I'll mow around them." What? Dale turned back and our eyes bugged the same silent scream. We had no idea if we had any moles. The disgusting thought of growths on my head were overtaken by the mental image of blood spurting from the shaved-off bumps. Given the less than gentle treatment we were receiving, I had no confidence anyone would render aid. My turn came. The Marine at the door pointed to a chair before the current occupant had even finished. I got the shaky barber. Of course. I grabbed the chair's red velvet armrest for support and hesitated before twisting my body onto the seat. It was covered with the hair of other people. The barber placed his hand on my shoulder and pawed me into place. Any hope of a consulting chat with the kind-looking old man ended when he shoved my head forward into a humbling prayer position and bzzz. The cold steel clippers hit the nape of my neck, and he pushed the clippers across my head, ending with a flourish of my forehead. I wanted to look up at the mirror, but the barber held my head down firmly. The clippers tapped the back of my neck again, then another scrape across my head. The buzzing muffled when the clippers hit thick, intact hair, then resumed full volume as the hair fell away. I watched my prized hair fall to the ground and join the pile left by countless others. An accomplishment years in the making became a memory in mere seconds. In the same few moments it took to buzz my hair from my head, the barber erased any doubt that I'd truly joined the Marines.
Was that a great story or what? Holy cow, Greg Cope White. What an amazing talent. I'm so happy I got to have him on the show. And you know, his book, The Pink Marine, I still think it's still in distribution. So check it out. Try to find The Pink Marine. It was a really good book by Greg Cope White. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of Greg Cope White, thank you again so much for listening. Please check out mylifein3songs.com and follow the show on Spotify. And then, of course, follow Storyworthy at Storyworthy on social media and at storyworthypodcast.com. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Greg Cope White, my name is Christine Blackburn saying, make it a Storyworthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.